Today we're going to have a look at North Korea and its opium production, claimed by some as a $1 billion industry. But before I do that, I very much would like to thank my subscribers, and also I would like to thank two people that helped me with the analysis of the satellite images. Here we can see an article from The Sun. It says that North Korean prostitutes use opium soaked tampons to stave off sexual transmitted diseases. And here we have a picture that, according to a newspaper, is an opium field in North Korea. However, reverse image search shows it's in Myanmar. Here we have an article from Daily North Korean. It's from 2018, and it's written by a person that has a PhD. And he says that poppy extracts are primary ingredients used to manufacture methamphetamine and ephedrine. I hope he doesn't have a PhD in pharmacy or chemistry, because that is just wrong. See, this is mahuang, and this is the plant you use to make the ingredients for methamphetamine. This is an opium poppy, a Papaver somniferum, and that is used for production of opium, morphine, and heroin. And unfortunately enough, there is really a lot of misinformation out there. People keep on saying things that are simply not true. Let me give you an example.
North Korea, literally would make anything to make money. He was talking about the meth. We got a best crystal meth. We got best heroin.
Yes, he referred to an program from 60 Minutes Australia, where she says that Alejandro de Benos, a very big supporter of the regime in North Korea, says we have the best heroin. I've seen the program. He doesn't say that. He offers methamphetamine, and he offers weapons. And the picture that was used in the clip before this one is actually from a drug raid in the United States, and it's methamphetamine and some weapons. It has nothing to do with heroin. I've been working on this story for quite a while, because all the time we hear stories about opium and heroin being produced in North Korea and being sold. I found a document by the Heritage Foundation, and they say that North Korea has anyway between 4,200 to 7,000 hectares under poppy cultivation. And the South Korean National Intelligence Service said in April 1999, which is about 22 years ago, that North Korea had refined 50 tons of opium and 5 tons of morphine and heroin. So I looked into where does the Heritage Foundation get this information from, because I would like to find out where can we find poppy fields. I want to use open source to have a look at it. They have it from the North Korean Advice Group. And so I contacted them and asked where they had their information from. Well, they didn't tell me. They just had it. Information is very hard to come by, and I would like to show poppy fields. So I kept on going, and eventually I found an article by Fox. I'm not a fan of Fox. But hey, at least I had a location, so I was looking at it. And according to Chuck Downs, the executive director of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea, this area here used to be an opium field. And this is the Yodok camp, but it's in 2001, so it's about 20 years ago. And he told that this area was under cultivation for opium poppies. That's 33 acres, that's a nice big piece. To me, it didn't make any sense. So I started looking into this. This is the area where there's supposed to be opium poppies. And it's on flat land. It's 170 meters above sea level. This is what they actually have on the fields. Farmers that I've contacted, they say, well, these are hay bales. This is not opium, this is hay. So, wrong information. I guess that Chuck knows really a lot about human rights and human rights abuse, but he probably doesn't know that much about growing opium. Normal opium plants, they have a life cycle of 6 to 7 months. And in the beginning, it's very labor intensive. because you have to weed it all the time because they don't like competition. And you need a grow period, like I said, 7 to 8 months. Germination temperature is 15 degrees, and they also need to have a certain altitude. Yes, they can grow at lower altitudes, but then the yield is absolutely ridiculously low. And then you need to have the right temperature, low humidity, and you also need to have not too much rain. So let's have a look at that. And I got pointed to two places, Yonsa and Yodok, and we'll have a look at those. This is the average temperature for Yonsa. And as you can see, around May, if it's a good year, if it's a bad year, this is the temperature, and then it will not become 14 degrees. But if it's a good year, around May, end of May, we will reach germination temperature. Now, we need 7 to 8 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here it's minus, and here it's minus, and that's if it's high temperature. So this wouldn't really work. To compare, I have temperatures from Laos. Even when it's absolutely cold in January, it's 16 degrees. And this is from an area where they grow lots of poppy plants. Average rainfall from Yodok, and in May, this is May, the rain is actually pretty perfect for poppy plantations. You need to have relatively a lot of rain in the beginning, but then you don't need rain. This would be a disaster, because if you have this much rain, what happens is that the plants grow very quickly. Then they become weak and they just fall over. And here we have an area, this is okay, and this is also okay. But in between, we have very little because the plants become too weak and they just collapse. I'll show you how it should look. This is how it should look. And this is from Myanmar. And this is also from Myanmar. I think you clearly could see the difference between these almost empty fields here and how a healthy field looks like. Now we're going to have a look at some satellite images. Poppies are actually relatively easy to identify by satellite. All these areas that are drawn in on the here and here, they kind of light up. It depends, of course, on what kind of frequency you use on your filters, but they are relatively easy to identify. And also here, here and here. This is Yodok in January, and yeah, this is snow and ice. And there will be snow probably until March, April. There is no way that you can grow any poppies here. It's just not going to work. Here we have some more satellite images. This is from a field visit. This is very practical. If you have a chance to go out, the people that worked with me, they explained that it is really a good idea to go out and confirm if it actually is poppy fields or not, because by doing that, you will have a sample and can say, okay, this is definitely a poppy field. So then we can better compare things. And here's an image from February and here from January. This is a defector. She is in Virginia now, and her job was by the internal police force. And she would hunt down small-time drug dealers. And the reason why they did that was to protect the fields and the drugs that was produced by the government. But she also said that when Kim Jong-il died, his son took over and he didn't want to have these opium fields. So he pretty much got rid of all of them. Not all, there are some left, and I will show you a little video where you can see some. But most of them, they just got rid of. However, she also says that now, when sanctions are getting more and more tough, it's very likely that they will start producing anything that they can sell. This could potentially be opium. This could also be methamphetamine. Some more satellite images. You see, the red ones are the things that are normally green, and these are the poppy fields. It is really helpful if one has a sample, otherwise it's a lot more work, but we still managed. This is the area that was identified as where the poppy fields should be. If you look at this image, there is definitely no poppy fields, but like I said, I got a lot of help, and I have some more images. Here there are potential small spots that could be, and we look at the next images, and they should have been white here, and they're not. So they're not poppy fields. However, I still went to look with normal, and then when you look at them, they are very small patches of like 50 by 30 meters that technically for many years back could have been farm fields for whatever. It could have been poppy fields, it could have been anything else, but no way that one could have produced thousands of tons of poppies there. So let's do a little bit of mathematics. In Afghanistan, under ideal conditions, you can get about 27 kilos per hectare. But if you look at the weather conditions in North Korea, you should be happy if you get 10 kilos per hectare. If we take the average from the open sources that say that North Korea has 4,000 to 7,000 hectares, we say 5,500 hectares, and that would yield then 55,000 kilos of opium of a very low quality because the humidity is far too high, it's too cold, the season is too short. If we then look at what the kilo price of opium is on the world market, and then I'm talking about the prices in Afghanistan and Myanmar, Laos, then they fluctuate for a very high quality, around $125 for a kilo, $5 million, which is very little money considering all the stories we hear, and it's definitely not close to $1 billion that was presented to the US Senate by the Heritage Foundation. Now, of course, this is opium. You could convert this to heroin, but you need 30 to 40 kilos, especially if it's a low quality, to make 1 kilo of heroin. And yes, the street value will be quite high. A gram of heroin will cost around $100. That is what it costs on the street. And Kim is not going to the streets in New York to sell heroin. They would just sell it as opium or sell it kilo-wise. So are there any poppy fields? Yes, there are. Let me see if I can show that. This is a little movie from North Korea from 2008. As you can see, it's a water field. You see how poorly it is? It is not very well. The plants look a bit messy. They have had too much water. It's not warm enough. This is poppies, as you can see, but it's close to Nadam Pharmaceuticals, which produces morphine for the domestic market. See if I can continue. Now, before I finish, I would like to say a few things. Is there opium in North Korea? Yes, definitely there is. Would they sell it if they could make some money on it? Probably they would. But it's not the main business. It's not a $1 billion business. Thanks for watching.